Good morning, everyone. This is the Wednesday, May 1st, 2019, 9:30 annual meeting for the Council on Aging Board. So welcome, everybody. I'll just go around and introduce yourselves and we are being recorded. So
good morning, Madam Chair.
Nancy Ruscio.
Joan Linehan.
Nilda Cohen.
Catherine Largan.
Yvonne Batty Davis.
Lori Louisville.
and Janet Kane. Thank you very much. So, the meeting's been called to order. We're open time for the public.
We have public.
Would you?
I'll be one.
I see we have a public person here.
I'm Chris Fowles, 11 Gun Road, and I'm here to meet you all.
Do you want to come up here? Just so that...
Maybe I'll stand up here. How's that? Somebody else is back.
Yeah, my Dory's back.
No,
We all do. Don't worry.
Anyway, Chris Fowles, 11 Gun Road, and I'm here kind of on a listening and introduction tour. In case you haven't heard, I'm actually running for the open seat on the Select Board. And so I'm making the rounds of the various committees and boards in town and trying to attend as many meetings as I can, both to introduce myself, but also let you learn a little bit about what your issues are that you're talking about. I've been familiar with some of the ones from the Select Board, and currently I'm on the Master Plan Implementation Committee, so I've been following quite a bit of the old issues that have been brought up in terms of issues affecting seniors, from transport and affordable housing, which are two biggies on my agenda. But just a little bit about myself. I grew up on a farm here in Southampton, right on Gun Road, which is now the Fletcher Farm, but it used to be the Fowles Farm. And so I was educated right in this building and also up at William E. Norris. And after growing up here, I went away to college in Wisconsin and majored in French, of all things. But that actually took me to a whole different career, because people said, well, French, what are you going to do with that? Well, in reality, I didn't think I ever wanted to be a teacher, but my first job was actually teaching. But it was teaching with the Peace Corps. So I joined the Peace Corps, and I was a teacher of English as a foreign language in a French-speaking country in West Africa for 3 years. Wow. And then I stayed and was part of the staff with Peace Corps in another 6 years in the Congo and Burundi. And then in the last 20 to 30 years, I guess I would say, I've been working based out of DC, but traveling frequently 2 or 3 times a year to Africa, working with a foundation that was doing community development and economic development in Africa. So working directly with community groups, women's groups, farmer cooperatives, in particular youth groups, and working with them on a grant-making program so that groups that had gotten together saying, hey, we have a problem in our community, this is how we think we want to solve it. Not that, they were looking for me to give them the answer and be the expert coming in, but rather trying to listen to what their issues were and help them figure out what the priorities were. Because oftentimes, as in a town like Southampton, I think there's many needs, and it's like, where do you begin? There's just so much to tackle. And so helping with the discussion and facilitating the discussion and playing devil's advocate in some ways to help people really think through and say, okay, let's get rid of the cobwebs here. What's really the core issue that we're trying to solve? Because I think, as with a town, you can throw money at anything, and it may or may not solve the real problem. So I spent a long time working in that area, working directly with community groups. So I've got a background in program management, financial management, budgeting, contracting. And long story short, I came home after I retired about 1.5 years ago, and I'm back in my old house in Southampton on Gun Road, which, again, I would just say that I'm very fortunate to be able to hang on to the old family house. I think that's one thing that's an issue here in town that I've been noticing, that there may be people that have been long-time residents that would like to stay here, but with downsizing, with whatever changes they may have in their own lives, they can't necessarily afford to find a place here in Southampton. There's nothing that available, and I think it would be a shame for people to have to feel like they have to move out of town if they've been lifelong residents. So I feel very fortunate that I've been able to stay here in my family house. So anyway, that's kind of the short story of it. I'm really focusing on collaborating and coordinating and communicating. So that, I think, is something amongst all the townspeople, across committees, across boards, getting a better dialogue going so that we're all listening to each other and we're all on the same page about how we want to move the town forward. So thank you very much, and I would appreciate your support on May 21st.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Nice meeting you.
I know you got that all in under 5 minutes.
I know, I was worried, I thought.
I didn't even
Andrew, are you just here as part of you need any open time, or you're good?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
She wants to know what the heck do these people do?
Yeah.
Nah.
Okay, speaking of what do they do, approval of the minutes. What do they do? Did everybody get a
I
chance to
sent
look
them
at
out
them?
early.
We just have to change the date to 2019.
Oh, yeah, April 19th. We have to? At the top, yes.
Good catch. Oh, yeah.
That's a good catch, I didn't even read up there. Thank you.
And I got the faculty award when I got my executive secretarial award.
That was a few years ago, Lori, it's
Yeah, that was
You mean you're
ago.
human? What year was that? Oh, no.
You weren't even born.
No, probably not. Do we have a motion?
I move to accept the treasure,
Not not there yet.
the secretary's report as with the one revision
Yeah,
of
we'll
the
fix the
Do we have a
revision.
second?
Second that.
You second.
Don, and any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? We're good. All right, thank you.
Get charged of, okay.
Update on the Friends. Kay, are you back in that seat?
I am, but I have no update because the meeting is tomorrow.
Oh, no, next Tuesday. Next
Well, can you
Tuesday.
give us a preview? Wait a minute.
Can you give us a
No,
psychic
no, wait,
report?
wait, wait.
sale is the biggie. I think that's
Yeah,
going to be
just
the biggie for this.
the reminder of the tag sale is what, the 17th and 18th?
Okay, yeah. let me see.
Accepting things as of today.
So you're taking them as of today? Oh, I should have brought my boxes.
Luncheon is May 10th.
And the luncheon is May 10th.
Oh, yeah, that's right after the.
I didn't read anything, I printed everything this morning.
Okay. Okay, everybody's, anything else? Andrea, you want to add for the Friends updates? Luncheon's the 10th.
I don't
Tag
even
sale.
remember what was on the last month.
It's all up here.
And this is the minutes.
We,
Yeah, we reviewed it the last meeting.
I will also comment that the drug take-back was a great success again this year.
It was?
Yes, they collected 1,700 plus in Hampshire and Franklin County.
Oh, okay.
But the majority was Hampshire County. Franklin was very low.
And the
We got a
police
lot of
station will
drugs.
take
Yeah,
any
I don't-
any day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we have
Well,
our
you kind of
agreement.
have to remember too with the police station, so I found out that it's pills. Because I was going
No
to
fluids?
discard,
I
no,
don't
no
like
fluids,
pills.
because they burn,
No, that's true though, even
I
at the
mean,
drug take-back.
Right,
there
and I
was no
didn't realize
liquid.
that until I
Okay.
took like
Oh, that's good to
old
know.
insulin to the police station.
No,
Nope.
that has to go to Board of Health.
All right, good to do, good to know.
Okay.
Okay, Andrea, we're good?
Yeah, it's pretty much talking about the tax sale, because that's our main focus right now.
Okay.
And the luncheon, obviously, before that.
And I know that they're thinking of a survey. Joan will fill us in on that on her report. And in the survey, one of the things they're addressing is what Chris talked about, housing and transportation.
Okay.
And you're absolutely right, Chris, those are the main concerns of the seniors.
So just to put a, we're just in the early discussions about
Oh,
doing a
something that
mailing,
we're doing.
including,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, okay. I
well,
thought it was something that was
John's
going
driving
on.
it out. And just to let you know, I did get nominated at the caucus for the one-year opening on the Housing Authority. So I thought it would be a nice fit for
Oh, good.
seniors in the housing, at least to get an understanding of what we're doing. So the other one was 5, so I went with the 1. But there is another opening if anybody would like a write-in campaign to become a member of the Housing Authority, if you have some free time on your hands. Okay. Okay, director and volunteer report.
Okay, does everybody have a copy? I have extras if you
Give
need.
me one. I thought I saved it to my hard drive, and then I can never find it.
Lois is on the back, and she also gave me minutes. She went to a meeting for RSVP. And I don't know if you read the paper about the Hampshire government.
I'm
is-
sorry.
Oh, that's
Yes.
dissolving.
And RSVP is part of that, so I'm not sure how that's going to affect them. But anyway, she went to the, there are minutes available if anybody's interested in that meeting. So for my report, we completed the classes for Chad and then DOPA Fit. We also purchased a refrigerator help. Thank you, Janet, for your help and all your research. We also have been researching other things that we need to buy in the next month to fulfill our grants.
Yeah, I
So-
sent the list out to everybody. For those who can't read pages, I resent it in PDF. Sorry about
And thank you,
that.
Joe, for going local.
Yeah,
That's appreciated.
Professionals.
yeah.
Yeah, we got the, yeah.
I like that.
We were very happy. They almost couldn't get it in the building, but they took the doors off and
Oh
were
my
able to
gosh.
get it in the building. But it is beautiful. And just, anybody have any secrets to keeping the fingerprints off besides Windex or
Yeah, that's the only problem.
stainless steel?
Cinch.
What is it?
Cinch.
Cinch?
Cinch, C-I-N-C-H. I have a stainless steel stove and refrigerator. Paper towels.
Well, I don't
and
mind. I'll
cinch.
do it, I mean, once a week, or we can have the custodian do it.
Yeah, you can't keep it off, but that will take it off.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not, I mean, it's used every day, but it'll be
Yeah.
clean, we'll clean Yeah, it
of course.
after we use it I all. use good old Windex. Yeah. I'm like that Greek father in that movie, Windex took care of everything. So we're very busy ordering pickleball nets and going to pickleball meetings. I attended the one, I guess Park and Rec, you went to one or two meetings?
Yeah, Liz and I went to 2, and then we were both out of town, so Joan
So I
stayed
went
and
to the
went to
last one. And they're very excited about it. They said the courts are in fairly good condition. There are some cracks that need to be filled, and we're working on getting a quote, an estimate on how to fill the cracks on the court.
Because it'll only get worse over time, so it's better to do it now than to...
Right.
So we covering that cost?
And I
So
think,
we
Where's
have
the
to get
park
the
people?
estimate first. Kiwanis has, they've offered Kiwanis to pay for it, but we have a grant that we need to use. So we're going to find out what the cost is, and we're going to keep a list, and so that we make sure that we use all our grant. So right now, it's in discussion.
yeah, they've offered to, between Parks has little funds, they don't have a lot of funds, but they also, and then Jeff Swanson is also on the Easthampton Southampton Kiwanis Club and the Parks Commission, and they have some community projects they want to do, and so they're going to help us with this one as well, so got a lot of support.
And we discovered that Westhampton put one in their town hall. So right next door, there's a pickleball court in the town hall. Did you go yet? to see
No,
that?
Darlene went,
Darlene
right,
went
yeah.
a couple times.
We could put one in this room, I think.
I don't think so. It has to be a gym.
Have to move the TV.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Anyway, there's a woman that we met through this. Is it Dana or?
Dale.
Dale. And she's the ambassador, pickleball ambassador for Hampshire County. Who knew? And so we got 5% off of our order. So an order that was going to be, I don't know, $1,200, we brought it down, $75. Well, I'm not sure. I'm just throwing those numbers out because we're still in the process of ordering. I have to get a
invoice from
purchase
Vicki,
order
right?
from
Yeah,
Vicki,
PO, yeah.
and then we can get the order out. They're discouraging us to put it on charges and have to repay us, because then they can't track it, because then it looks like it's going to me, instead of going to...
Yeah, the grant may not be appreciated.
I
Here's
don't think so.
$1,200 to Joan Linehan.
So,
Services rendered.
oh gee. So we're also working on a spray faucet for the sink, because for the meals and the lunches that we've been increasing our meals. We've been using our dishwasher. We have our own coffee cups. I'm really excited about, the development of the process. It's slow, but I think, things are building. We've had some really good workshops. I know Lori will speak about the ones she attended. And, it is unfortunate that we only have several people, 3 to 10 people attending, but it is a small town. Maybe there isn't enough word out there. Maybe there isn't enough interest or need for these talks. You put it out there hoping that you'll get people in. There's a lot of, Armbrook and Oasis and Care One, they all want us to know about them. So they're inviting themselves here, really, and we're making room for them. They're bringing us food, and they're, giving us some really good talks. We had one on the medical orders at the end of life, which is a very important talk, and a hard one for people to
discuss, and talked about, getting your health proxy in place, and even today, it may change tomorrow, but you should have something for today's situation, and then, if your health changes, then maybe you need to have some other paperwork, but it's all important things that should be thought about, even at the age of 60, even sometimes in their 50s, people should have all this information. So I'm hoping to get more people here. We're having their evening program. We had the tea went till about 4, the dance went to about 4, the murder mystery will be from 6 to 8. So we're trying to do a few more evening programs to get people involved. Our driver's back, Richard. So things are going
And walking pretty well.
Yes.
Feeling
Yeah.
good.
Now, on the driver, what's the story on
David. So he's no longer with us. He doesn't really care to be a substitute driver. He's moving on with his life.
Okay.
So when when the interview,
Right,
that's
right,
kind
right.
of what he had said. So I really think we need to try and get a substitute driver. I mean, Richard doesn't have any vacation right now, but he might, as of July 1st, we do get new vacation. So we really should have a substitute. We don't have Fridays right now, which had been a hardship, especially because our luncheons are on Fridays. So it's been a little tough getting some transportation, although we have great volunteers, but we still have people that are unmet needs in transportation, so it would be great to get another driver. We currently have an art exhibit by Betty Schaefer, who was our art teacher. I think she's 92. She's in her 90s anyway. So the art exhibit will be up all month, and there's going to be Meet the Artist on May 22nd. Now this coming Saturday, there's a blood drive. All we do, we don't host it, they get the key and they use our center, but that's from 8 to 1. And then also there's this generation, the greatest generation for the veterans. It's a dance and music of the World War II, and it's at the church, but the grant is a grant that came through Southampton Cultural Council. So I don't know how a Saturday at 2 o'clock is going to go, especially if it's going to be nice. I heard somebody said it's going to be nice. It's the only nice day. People will be outside taking care of their yard work. So, but anyway, it's free to the public, and it's paid by the Mass Council on Aging Cultural Society. So, does anybody have any questions for me? We're starting to get the list for the picnic. That's usually a huge event. We try to get 60 plus people there. It's a Friends thing, but I really think it's a senior, Council on Aging and Corley. We shut the office down during the picnic so that we can attend.
When is the date of the volunteer luncheon?
Oh, the volunteer luncheon, it will be in June. It's June the 21st. It's a Friday. Originally, I thought the 14th. It's Patriots Day, but it's also Relay for Life, and Darlene's very active in the Relay for Life. In fact, she got an award this year, and she has to do a speech. So she's lost 18 pounds. She looks terrific. She feels great. Anyway, so ours is the 21st. It's a patriotic theme. Flo has already started working on it. She's got Hamill's Catering. I know, there's not a lot to choose from in the area, but we wanted somebody that would maybe send a person, a server, so that the staff didn't have to be serving. So Hamill's has agreed to do that. And you're getting invitations within the next week or so, maybe week to 2 weeks. And we have to work on the volunteer of the year too, so that maybe we'll be in discussion about that.
I do have a comment. That's the second group of speakers that spoke on the healthcare proxy. 2 women came in, and I thought they had come in for bingo. And I went over and I introduced myself, and I never mentioned bingo. I just said, it's nice to have you here. What are your names? I'm Lori, blah, 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 blah. They came to hear, and I got excited. I'm not the director. I'm thinking, she's bringing in new people that never come to the center, first time in. And then they had a lot of questions after.
Yeah, we have about 6 or 8 new members this month. Maybe I should keep track of who's signing up so we know how we're growing. But yeah, they're not all from Southampton, but I think those 2 individuals were from Southampton. Oh, our trips. We gotta push our trips. We gotta place a trip to Boston. The one in June is full. We're going to Thimble Islands. We had a leadership training yesterday with Andrea and Darlene and myself. I won't be going on these trips. Yvonne, did you get the email or not yet? Anyway, I made up a list of responsibilities so the new leaders who are doing these trips will be prepared. And if you haven't got the email, I'll share it with you later and I'll give you a list. But we just went over with Landmark Tours, Penny, who's helped us organize these 45 passengers group trips. And Darlene is going to run one, Flo is going to run one, Andrea is going to run one. And so Yvonne may have to fill in. She was willing to do it. She's going anyway. She's traveling anyway, so if she needs to lead a trip, she will.
No problem.
So if there's
We're excited about it.
anybody who drops out of the Thimble one, let me know.
I have room, I think, for one person. We have 44, and I think we can take 45. So if you want to go, put
what
your
day
name
was that
down.
again?
It's June the 18th. It's a Tuesday. I think they're all on Tuesdays. Think about it. It's $80. I'll get you a flyer.
It's fascinating. Yankee Magazine last month, and they do 2 months at a time, did a whole article on a young lady whose father was a captain of a schooner that toured Thimble Islands with many. When her father died, she took it over, and all of these schooners around helped train her. So it's quite it's interesting, very interesting.
And there's a meal included. You go to a restaurant first. And it doesn't leave till 11 o'clock in the morning, so it's not an early one. That one you'll get. They want you there by 4:15 though, okay?
4:45.
But the Boston one, I think there's only like 18 or 19, so we really need another 23 people, or we'll have to cancel, unfortunately. But Friends doesn't have to worry about refunds this year. So we're trying to, I think we're going to talk about a mailing because we have extra money in the formula grant. And besides the newsletter, we're going to put in the trips and possibly a survey. So we're currently working on that. That would have to go out by the end of May. So it would be probably before the next meeting, but I can share electronically what our plans are, the survey, and for the mailing.
So the only other thing, just to add from we met with the finance committee. The budget has been finalized, obviously, because town meeting is Tuesday. Basically, other than the 2% or whatever the percent is increase, there's going to be no basic changes to most people's budgets. So we'll find a way around. So, but that was usual. If you don't ask, you don't get. So all we can do is continue to express our needs in this growing population. So we'll be asking again next year, right?
Exactly.
Okay, thanks, Joan. Did you bring the 5-year plan?
Did I bring enough copies for everyone?
So you sent that out, right?
Oh, she just sent the financial part of
Copy
it,
of
yeah.
Capleton.
5-year plan. So Ed sent to all the department heads
In January.
In January, please put together your 5-year plan, and kind of like said, I need it back tomorrow, more or less. It wasn't quite that fast, but it was pretty short term. So Joan and Ed got together and kind of came up with some ideas. We talked a little bit about it, but this is just a rough sketch, and as we move forward, probably into next year, we need to really tighten it up and try to determine, and hopefully the survey will help us to figure out where we need to go. Do we need a bigger senior center? Don't we? Do we need our own band? Don't we? And so we just have a lot to think about, and I know Joan received a strategic planning outline from her certified director's training, right? So we're going to review that. So this is, again, just kind of a very rough sketch at this point. You can't, put something together in a couple days and expect it to have a lot of meat, but we knew we didn't need anything major this year, but moving forward from the capital perspective, what are in our investments that are going to be $10,000 and more that we need to consider. So I don't know if anybody has any comments or thoughts or...
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understood things, that in 2021, we're looking at 3,000, 2022, 30, 2023, 300.
Yeah, then the explanation, I don't know if that shows it there, but my idea was, I thought we would need more computers and we'd do a bigger lab. I don't see that today as I did in January, because they don't use the two we have right now, although the setup isn't ideal, so I'm working on that as well. The next one was for transportation, to have our own vehicle, not a Frida vehicle. The only thing about having your own vehicle is you have all the maintenance, you have the insurance, you have everything that goes with it. So that's a big undertaking. But if we had a secondary vehicle and we had a secondary driver, then when we had conflicts, we could get this one to this place or that one. But I think almost all centers that are on the larger side have their own vehicle that they can use.
Hatfield has their own vehicle.
So that means that, I can't drive the bus, although I could. I've driven a bus that size, but I can't because I haven't been through the FRITA training.
Probably don't have a license.
And, no, I had a CDL license.
No, but do you have it now?
I don't currently, you don't need a CDL license for that vehicle. If it's 14 passenger or less, you don't need a CDL. But you do need, it belongs to FRITA, so you do need FRITA training. You need to have all your certificates, your drug training, et cetera, which is time consuming, and there's money, and I don't have the time for driving anyway. Although, I try to sneak it in here and there, but I really don't. But we could possibly, with a bigger budget, hire another driver that could just use a regular vehicle, because anybody that has a safe driving record and, passes a query or is an employee should be able to transport seniors. It's huge, and as Chris said, it's been going on for years in town. It's something that's high on the priority needs, next to food and housing and transportation.
Every meeting we attend, it's like the biggest issue in most council on aging senior centers is transportation.
So it would be, a thought of how do we have our own program and our own vehicle and have our own, it's expensive. So FRITA's doing us a favor, lending us a bus and giving us money to run that program. That's huge. It's $30,000, and that's what the number came up with. So something that possibly we could have our own. And then the following one, when I first came here, I came from a larger building and a larger senior population, and there was some speculation that maybe we need a bigger space. And maybe we still do, but we don't need it today because people aren't coming to this place we have today. So we're not bursting at the seams at this point. So, but who knows in 3 years, and what the needs are. We get a lot of phone calls, as you can see, a lot of phone calls and referrals. And people do come in for events, but we need to go to bigger places like maybe the school and have an event, where we'll draw a big crowd. Or the church, it would be great to have more senior events with more seniors. We don't have the room for it, so.
And also, I think, you look at North, they have like a reading room. So if somebody wants to come in and just read, and have some quiet time, they can. We're not set up for that, or
it's having the separate
a little
room,
cafe or something. So if somebody wants to host something, or
like Yvonne's looking for a space to do a writing club,
the writing
group. Right. And we just can't do it because we echo.
I looked at the calendar. They cannot do it at the senior center.
And plus, it's not feasible because there's doors, it's people walking through, there's phone calls, this room might work. Yeah, it's a passageway. A lot of people don't come to the center. They come through to pay their taxes, and I say, hello, how are you, and what's your name, and can you stay a while? Would you like a cup of coffee? But we're not there yet. I don't know.
No, we're not yet, and how to get people involved, I think, is still somewhat of a mystery, that you're between computers, you're between television, you're between lots of ways to get people involved. We're not there yet.
Yeah, if we had a little computer, there's, you know, maybe, certainly not a Northampton size center. I've never been to Hatfield. I should probably just go up there because they're another small community.
Well, when we cross that bridge, we
Yeah.
would visit other places and see what they have to offer and what, you know, I mean, that's another whole research.
Yeah.
So I have a question. This $30,000 for transit, what is that supposed to include?
I just reflected the $30,000 that we get from Frida. So what
I don't think that's enough if we want our own vehicle.
It probably
and
isn't
pay
enough.
somebody
Yeah, that would
to
just cover the
drive it.
cost of buying a vehicle,
Right.
basically.
I don't think it would even
I
cover the
probably
cost of
not.
buying
We would
a
have to do
vehicle.
more research
We bought
on
a
that.
vehicle maybe 7 years ago, $20,000, a little transit.
Now, just to get a car.
Right, right.
You're talking,
40 to
and
50,000.
something that can, you know, that's reasonably nice and comfortable and reasonable mileage and all that stuff. You're talking 30+ thousand. Definitely more than
So that's
30,000.
probably not feasible, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure what,
But then what you
How many
try to do
hours?
is make it like 2021, 2023. So I think she's moving slowly with the figures. It'd be nice if it was slower than it needs to be, but I don't know, because of the amount of attention.
you'd have to have a plan in place, like you said. It would have to include the insurance, it would have to include the maintenance, it would have to include, and there's other departments in towns that have vehicles, and I'm not sure how they all work it. You know, the police department has vehicles, the fire
Well, if you
department
go
has
to the
vehicles.
town warrant, you see the capital
Yeah.
And some of
funds
those are like $50,000, $80,000.
Well, some of those
The
are, need
tractors
to
that
be
the
250
fire and rec
for
order,
highway
the mowers,
department.
$60,000 mowers,
Yeah,
so.
so we really need to fine tune it. I just
Yeah.
wanted Joan to get the opportunity to share it, and again, it
That
was
was
a
my
very
thoughts.
fast.
And the last one is for a possible plan for a bigger center, and what would that look like?
This is just the 24-hour turnaround.
But it's also a good starting point.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
what it really is, as our starting point.
There had, of course, and I don't want to take up any more time than this, but there was talk about the old town hall, renovating that for seniors and veterans, but it doesn't seem feasible because it needs so much work and money. So the second thought was, once the fire and the police get a complex, that there may be a senior center involved in that. Maybe not a big one, but one that has more than one bathroom and
More
a
than
toilet
one.
that works. We've had the toilet's been down twice, and more than one room. I know. I'm lucky I have an office. I'm thrilled to have an office, so I can close the door once in a while, but
Okay, all right. Thanks,
Good.
Joan, just for kind of giving us an overview on that. Okay, I did send out a quick spreadsheet, not a spread, a little document yesterday with a kind of where we are tracking with our, grants. And,
I couldn't print it out, so.
okay.
I just mentioned it, I didn't realize.
is this the one?
Yeah, what?
Does anybody need a copy?
I do.
You changed the method of how you sent it. And I'm looking at the two of them, and I'm thinking, what's it?
I don't know. I print out yours, but I couldn't print out.
So, oops, Joan's making copies, hold that thought. And there's been a little bit of modification to it already, because we got firmer prices from Ed on the drinking fountain, or the faucet and the soap and the cold water filter and
Does it go higher or lower? Figures.
we added the cold water filter and to the sink. I mean, it's,
This is without doing any plumbing?
he said another $30 for plumbing parts. He's the plumber.
Much.
He will install it.
He does a lot.
Yes.
At his rate, I don't think he should be doing those things like changing light bulbs and stuff.
It's
but-
called kindness.
Yes, somebody
Well,
else
no,
trying
if
to
it's
need
on
it.
the clock, it's not kind
Well,
of you.
he's not an hourly wage person.
But it's calculated if his
Well-
time is being taken away from what his job is.
Well,
yes.
but he still works way over the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
40 hours.
He's here on Fridays, I mean, most,
He's supposed to be here on Fridays.
right, that's what he
Well, he
is.
is.
He's also
Yeah.
here on some weekends, I've seen him.
We're talking about Ed Gibson.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
If he had somebody delegated to, he probably would.
Yeah, that's the problem, is we don't have. So I don't know what the final number was for the pickleball paddles and nets and balls. Did you said
Right now, it's just over $1,000, so it's under $1,200.
Okay, so that's, and then we need paint and stencils for courts, and that was
Yeah.
about $260 based on the quote we got from Jeff
And they wanted
Swanson.
yellow. Is that okay?
Who wanted yellow?
What's his name?
Jeff? That's what he
Yes.
recommended?
He recommended yellow. And
It's
they
their
got
courts.
Pickleball,
I mean, it's the town
they only
courts,
had
but-
black and white, and I know black wouldn't work on
No,
pavement, so
no.
I think we'll get the spray paint somewhere else.
Okay, yep, yep.
Well, yellow is a good idea because then people won't get confused with which line goes with
Exactly.
which
Yep.
court.
So, okay, so we can go back to see where he got it, and maybe we can do it with where he got the quote from initially. Windscreens for the courts, this is still TBD as far as whether Kiwanis is gonna pick that up, or we're not sure which ones they're gonna pick up. But they did offer to do that, but that's about an $800 quote that we got on that. The refrigerator is purchased. Faucet for the kitchen sink, the soap dispenser, and a cold water filter in stainless steel is $700 with installation.
Okay, so
Oh, I put 300, I'm sorry.
700 where?
I'm sorry, it was
faucet?
$665. You know, take the cold water filtration system out of there. I didn't realize I had put that in there, so.
So we don't need the cold water system
Yeah.
filtration.
Right, so that'll change the total on the
And then
bottom.
it's 665.
And make it $700 because he said about $30 for the installation for the parts, so. So we'll get a, you know, and then we talked about a consultant at one time to work on a strategic plan. I don't think that's gonna happen this year. We can't certainly turn that around.
But we did put in training, if we had any coaches for the pickleball,
Okay,
so that's a possibility.
so we'll add a line for instruction
Yeah.
for pickleball, or to have a intro. We talked about having just a kickoff lesson or a, drawing a blank, but,
Yes, and we
Okay.
also talked about getting scheduling, because we did have some tennis players that were concerned that we were putting pickleball there. And it is portable, but it would be nice to have a day set aside, at least one for pickleball.
or a couple
Maybe
hours
two.
too, yeah.
Or a few hours, 2 days a week.
Because we can put up, they're gonna be able to use the tennis net for a center one. For people that want to play pickleball, then our nets aren't available to them. We're also donating two to the town so that they can have their own pickleball nets. To build a whole new pickleball court is probably about 80 grand, so that's not happening this year, but maybe see if
This year.
if it catches on. I mean, we have CPA funds. If we spend 700,000 on a ball field, then I think we could find 80 grand for something that's,
I told you Westfield found 128,000 for pickleball.
So, can you go back on the scheduling, because I asked this question, in terms of, so the pickleball is not going to be accessible every day, let's say 4 days that the senior center is open. It's going to be on a scheduled basis, and how are the people that are interested in playing? Is it the same sort of courtesy arrangement with tennis? You go, you block yourself. I mean, they used to have a sign-up sheet at the tennis courts, and you put your name, and then, you know, you were there, and now somebody
yeah,
came.
that hasn't been there for years. So
Yeah,
I think
so-
we need to block off and work with, we'll work with Parks to do that. We'll block off maybe 3 hours on a Monday and 3 hours on a Thursday, just randomly speaking.
I like those.
And just say, you know, this is reserved for senior pickleball.
Doesn't mean that seniors can't.
They can go anytime,
Play at
but
other
that's when
times.
we'll take our nets over, we'll have
This
our
would be
equipment there.
exclusive for
We'll have some
Yeah.
introduction.
So it's going to be set up all the time?
No,
No, it's portable
No,
nets.
it's portable.
Okay.
So whoever's gonna take the nets and, you know, and the paddles and everything, they can sign them out. I think the library is what they're thinking about
Well,
now.
I think ours are gonna stay at the senior
Ours are gonna
center.
stay here, but the towns are gonna be at the library.
We haven't talked to
All right,
Shrewsbury yet. but-
okay, all right.
I don't
They're
know.
gonna be in that
Parks.
area, near the park.
Yep.
And you would sign them out, and then you could use it. And I think the only thing is I'm concerned about is having the tennis players come and say, oh, well, you're playing pickleball, I wanted to play
Right.
tennis.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, maybe we'll have to say Tuesdays and Wednesdays are tennis days, people can't play on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, I don't know.
Well,
Well, do we
first
need
come,
the
first
whole
served.
day? Do we need the whole
Oh,
day?
no, we're just
We don't
gonna do like 3 hours, 3 hours, so,
Right.
I mean, it's,
Right.
we'll work it
It's
out,
gonna
but I
take a
think it's
transition
gonna,
because people, I mean, I haven't
Yeah.
played tennis in so many years, but, you know, there are gonna be people that are gonna react.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how in concert it's gonna work with pickleball and somebody playing tennis, so I
don't know
haven't
if you
seen
can.
any of it, so.
well, you can on the other court. I mean, we can use one court for pickleball, and then
Right,
it
right,
leaves the
right.
other tennis court for tennis. So
It'll be
it's,
fine.
yeah, so
Because you're gonna have
hopefully,
netting anyway, right? What's the netting?
That's
I
a
want
wind
to see it on the
netting.
same court, I think it'd be kind of cute.
I want to videotape that. The netting is for to catch the balls, because they're light, and if the wind takes them, they don't have to run to
Okay.
the
the
next.
windscreen is the net
Okay.
that
Oh,
that we're
okay.
talking about.
And then we talked about benches, depending on how this all,
Well, we added
rolls
benches
out.
down to the,
Yeah,
to the
that's
state
under-
formula
oh,
grant
okay.
too, just in
Alright.
case, but,
Right.
you know, so that, you know, we have, I think out of the 5,500, we should be able to make good on most of that, those dollars, $1,000 that we talked about, so that's the good news. Now, the state formula grant, we're looking at Murray Mysteries Theater, the cost associated with that, the volunteer luncheon, the card tables that were already paid for, right? Are ordered
Yes,
and
they're
in.
ordered, and I just give the warrant to Vicki, or to Joyce.
We talked about ordering, and we talked about these at the last meeting, the new coffee maker, because that one's getting on in age.
The price might be different, she's talking about a commercial one,
Right,
right?
and it comes right under 300. What
Oh,
was
it does?
260?
Okay.
I think it was 265.
Okay, so we rounded,
268.
yeah.
And it makes iced coffee also.
Oh.
So
like it.
we're stepping up in the world.
The computer tables, which are on order, right? And they're about 300, you said, right? And we're talking about, instead of the system that we have there that's kind of complicated, just bringing in a Bose speaker system that you can put in a CD, the music is beautiful, it's, you know, consolidating things a little
And
bit more,
that's
coming
the
up to
correct
date.
price also, because it runs about 480.
Yeah, so it's about 480, so we're good at rounding up. Our wages through the end of the year for Darlene and Flo are about 800. This mailing out the survey to the 50-plus population and the newsletter is about $800, right? For the postage.
Has there been a postal rate since the last major, postal rate increase since the last major mailing?
Yes.
I think-
It may be a penny on the bulk rate.
Oh.
I'm not sure. And we're not doing the envelopes, we're gonna do a flat fold, so.
Live and
we
learn,
have to-
right?
So we don't have the
Number
cost
10.
of the envelopes,
It'd be a lot easier to do.
so.
No
that-
stuffing.
We don't have the grant that Friends had at one time for the postage, so we have to figure that out.
Yeah. Okay, and then we talked about solid benches because the question came up, while people are waiting, if people want to watch, where do they sit? Because there is no seating over there right now, so we're working with Parks on that too. So again, some of these are fluent in that we don't know what's coming from them, from Kiwanis, from us, but it gives us a good solid picture of where we're going, right? And we have about $7,000 left in the state formula grant, so we should be pretty good on that. We may have a few $100s left to spend between now and the end of the year. That's not covered here. Questions? I just want to give everybody kind of an at a glance where we are, not take any of Josie's thunder from her treasurer's report, but just to give you a kind of an at a glance. Any questions, discussions, answers, comments? Okay.
I'll make an off-the-side comment, just because, I think this is all good, very good. But I looked at the clock, because I have to leave by 11.
Oh, yeah, you'll be out of here. All right, great. All right, we may not be done, but you'll be out of here. Okay, next on the agenda is because this is the one that takes the longest, so this should get you to 11, right? The treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion to accept.
What was that, Nelda?
Are we discussing this? I printed it. Was that something you said?
That's in capital.
Is that capital improvement, or is that the master
It's,
plan?
The master plan, was that part of the...
That wasn't-
The financial spreadsheet that you did?
No.
Okay, so that's going to be...
That was at a different meeting, we talked about that.
Oh, I printed it. I thought you sent it recently, maybe it was February.
Anything's possible. I
No,
know I've
it's been
sent
a
it
while.
again, but yeah, we kind of touched base when Francine was here from the master plan
yeah,
to talk about it.
yeah,
I think that was
I
when I
remember.
sent it. Okay. All right, Josie, our treasurer.
Well, Joan and I spent, I don't know how long, going through pretty much line by line, trying to reconcile the expenses and the revolving account and formula grant, because certain items had been, there was confusion about what account they go to. For instance, and especially the postage, because it could go into one of three accounts. So anyway, Joan and I went through that, and by the time we were done, got it 100%. So our
You stick to your
record
numbers.
of town expenses, as it's shown at the moment, I haven't received the end of the month Vicky report yet, so, but as of right now, what we say and what she says is exact. And, you know, wages, pretty much right on. The Fritter wages, they don't actually match 100%, but that is because, for one thing, we don't have all the Fritter income coming in, you know, it comes in very sporadically. But the other thing is I always put in a certain amount, or 9.5% for administration and benefits, and what Vicky may have may be different. So this is what I have as a ballpark, and I think we're pretty
close.
you know, we're really, really close. So
And
I'm
as of the
comfortable with
last
the
report, the
numbers.
revenue report had not been updated, because
Right.
it doesn't show the state formula grant which is in, it doesn't show what's coming in from Fritta, there's no updates since like January on the revenue report, so it's kind of hard to track that when we don't even know what our revenue is.
But I think we're doing really well.
So they're behind like 3 months?
Well, at the
I mean,
last,
the bills go out monthly. You do the summary
The
and...
turnovers is what
but the revenue report
Oh,
that
the
we get
turnover.
from,
FRTA.
no, from the town, the town
So
revenue
if the treasurer
report.
gets the check and if she deposits it, it has to be reconciled to
It's
the
not
general ledger.
what our revenue is. It wasn't even, we had to go and find out, did we get the state formula grant? Because we haven't, the revenue report wasn't reflecting the state formula grant.
Wow.
We didn't know when it came in, but apparently we did receive it. It just hasn't been input in the system, so that the reports that are generated from the town, as of the middle of April, did not reflect any of those revenues that had been given to the town.
Sounds
So,
strange.
no, yes, I think it's been vocalized a lot. But- So we're doing our best to track revenues when we don't really, the reports don't reflect. So fortunately, Joan went to Vicki and asked if we'd gotten a state formula grant. The answer was yes, so we were relieved to know, because it usually comes in March and we hadn't heard anything, and now it's May, so. Okay, it's yours.
So that's pretty much it. Are there questions?
I don't have a question. I think it's a very nicely laid out and I applaud your...
Oh, good.
Thank you.
And I'll make the
I
motion
mean,
to
my
accept
own-
the treasurer's report, and you
Oh,
can...
she has a knowingly, her only what?
There's a but after that.
No, I was going to ask a question separate to this.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with this. I'm glad my pain in the butt helped.
Oh, yeah.
That's all, you know what?
Yeah.
Able to second my motion?
Second.
Any other discussion? Yes.
Well, the vote, I mean...
Well, after this, any other
Okay.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye. All right, so I have a question related to the FRTA contract in connection with what Joan said. Joan said so we have Richard as a driver. I see that we have that disability cost that wasn't factored in when we looked at this budget, a year ago. And so,
Which is
and that
paid
was-
by a separate article.
Yeah.
Right. But we don't want the town to come up with the additional money, so.
What do you
and we-
mean?
Well.
The town voted to come up with the additional.
I know, but ideally, the grant, any expenditure connected with the driver and that program should be absorbed by the grant.
Right.
And we have to go outside of the grant, so the town paid for it separately.
Correct.
But his disability is a Southampton disability, it's not a Frida
Well,
disability.
but he wasn't benefit, see, that's the
Yes, he
issue
is
that I
benefit.
wanted.
You can't work him 50 hours every 2 weeks and not benefit.
Right, no.
Right, so he
But
should have been
that was an
benefited.
oversight because he was only supposed to work, both of them were supposed to be part-time, initially part-time. So are we not looking into that moving
I
forward
don't
for
know
next
how
year?
we could ever, unless we get one person that works 3 days and one person that works 2 days, they would still be over 20 hours. First of all, we only have one person right now. There is such a need for transportation that we couldn't, I don't know how we'd do it. We'd have to hire another person, which would be another salary, and
I think this is the discussion I've had with Ed, and that we'll continue to have discussions with Ed if see what direction the town chooses to go in, but right now he'll be benefited for next year.
So from a historical standpoint, we had for many, many years 2 people, and no one went over their hours. They were part-time, they didn't have benefits, they covered for them for vacation, for sick. And then we lost those drivers, and it happened sort of very close to each other, so we had to get a book. We're lucky that we had Richard, and Richard has done a phenomenal job, and he was willing to pick up those additional hours when we lost the other person. And everything happened without us having enough time to plan on it, so we were happy that we filled that in. So I guess that I would ask is, from a historical standpoint, how has the need increased? Because we have to have a conversation, do we only address medical appointments versus the other components that are important, but
And then
what are the
medical
numbers?
always override
Yeah.
trumps,
Yeah.
right.
So I think that I never heard from the director in previous years that we ever had an issue with not meeting the needs. So is there some way of calculating?
I went back and looked at the PCFs that had been approved before this, and some of them were for 20 hours and it should have been benefited. It wasn't. I mean, I went back maybe 3 years, and he was hired for 20 hours a week. That should have been a benefited position. They circled non-benefited, but legally, we can't, if you're averaging 20 hours a week, we have to pay benefits.
And they're averaging 24.
Then the last PCF that came in, I think, before Joan came, when he got a slight increase, was for hours vary, but it was still over the 20 hours, and it was still marked as non-benefited when it should have been benefited. So I think the errors were not, and that was even, I think, before the previous driver resigned, and he was only doing Fridays. I mean,
Right.
Richard's doing 20 hours without hitting Friday.
Right.
So
And
I think we didn't pay him benefits, but I think he did the 20 hours.
Yeah, so I think.
So this is not a new
On
phenomenon.
many layers, it got missed. Because it wasn't only the director that put the paperwork, it goes to personnel,
No,
goes to select board, it goes
absolutely.
to the town administrator. So what happened was that he had the need.
Right,
And
exactly.
all of a sudden, it came to light that this should have been addressed. So I'm asking, moving forward, and as you look at transportation as a focal point, we need to have numbers that support one thing or another, because I don't have, Joe sends me the reports and gives me the breakdowns, and my experience over the years has never, it's never been conveyed or had a discussion on the board that we need to look at transportation as a very important component. In fact, the people that volunteered, that were on the volunteer list, weren't that, they were I think you said to me early on, you said, I'm on the list, I don't get calls.
Well, that was
So-
2 years ago. That
That's
doesn't
changed.
I'm saying
I've got a
that
few that I
that
know
only
before.
proves my point. It wasn't an issue. What happened? What happened?
May I make?
Growth.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say. What is the count of your seniors now? The population has increased. The need is greater because you have more people
And the
that are
involvement.
now in the senior population.
Okay,
You know,
well,
we've got
I'll
a lot
tell
of
you, I
90
went
plus
to,
people.
and I'm sorry.
We've got a lot of people 90 years and older. A lot
Yeah,
of
but it's not just 90. And Andrea, I'm going to ask you, as a member of the board, please be recognized by the chair, okay?
I'm sorry.
You're welcome. Sorry. But I'm happy to recognize you. Would you like to be recognized?
Well, I'd love to. So, I'm confused as to what your point is, because I think Joan just said, and, you know, the outlook, what we're doing, the transportation is one of our biggest issues, and that is one of the things that we are addressing. So I'm not quite sure what you're
Well, I'm just,
looking for.
I'm asking the question, is that something that for next year's contract, every dollar that we take out of the formula, the FRTA contract decreases the ability for us to do the transportation. So if you're putting in benefits.
We're not putting in benefits. Don't say you're putting in benefits. They have been added for the last 2
Yeah.
years. He was officially, right.
So is that part of the administrative deduction that we're going to get?
It's
No?
not covered by, just like we don't take it out of the COA budget. Joan's benefits don't come out of the budget, they come out of the overhead. And so that's something, as I
Well, we do
said,
account for the benefits and the administration out of the budget, out of the $30,000.
Well,
But
it
what
was
she's saying is not
administrative,
the
Vicky
employee.
and Jen, and no longer myself.
Right.
But we don't have the employee, like,
yeah,
Richard,
not the
Richard's
employee
benefits are
benefits,
not.
not the employee benefits, not the sick time, not the vacation.
well-
I mean, we pay for his vacation, that comes out of
That
the grant.
9.5% accounts for, as far as I know, is administration and benefits.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not
yes,
sure
that's the way I
exactly.
look at it. So
Okay,
all
so
I'm
it's
saying,
covered.
Yeah.
so let me just, and people have to leave. I've attended many meetings with the select board when we were over on the FRTA contract, and FRTA said, you're over, you're going to cover it. And so we had to go before them and say, why did you spend the money and not have a funding source? At that time, we had to submit a letter to FRTA that the town was going to accept that obligation. They have never. Who gave us money last year?
The friends.
Exactly. So this is a
So
conversation.
this is
Part of
new
the
then.
issue-
This was given to us by the town, that's new, they never did that
Right,
before.
right.
Because we never had anybody,
Well-
we have a very poor short-term disability, very costly short-term disability policy in town.
Yeah, and I don't think that, the
And that was
short-term
also reviewed.
disability, as far as I know, is not covered in this 9.5%. We don't look at that. And in the past, before I got here, I don't think it was ever looked at. You know, we
No.
were just thinking we had a $30,000 budget and you work to that number, but it didn't take into consideration the administrative fees and the benefits,
It was a
which
very
I think
small portion, yeah.
are, you know, like vacation time and sick
Right,
time.
right.
But short, not disability.
11 weeks.
Right,
or whatever
so-
it was.
So the problem is much bigger than FRITA for our
Yeah.
short-term disability, and I know they keep trying to
But also in
address it.
terms of what the selectmen, because FIDA wanted that assurance that we could not go back to them and out of their reserve, they had a little pool of money that they would always come forth and give us that money. And that's the other shift that's occurred. The other one is that well, I shouldn't say FRTA, transportation across the board is being cut.
Yep.
So, you know, you've had, so
Right.
all I'm making a case from a historical standpoint, as well as there's a combination of players in here that have to have a conversation that have to justify whether it's a van, whether it's a car, whatever it is, to be able to have the town also be involved. It can't just be the grant.
Well, and I think that the fact that Ed is now involved in, as Joan's direct supervisor, forces the town into this discussion.
Plus, he's the FRITA administrator
Plus,
as
he's
well.
the FRITA administrator, so I've had discussions with Ed about, kind of very just superficial discussions, so we definitely need to address it, and I know that's on people's minds.
It'll be on the strategic plan.
He's the FRITA administrator doing what?
He goes to meetings.
Oh, he's the rep, he's the
Yeah,
rep.
yeah, he's the rep.
Okay, because she's the administrator, because she does the day-to-day.
I think
Okay.
Okay, all right, so we have to move on because Josie has to leave. And we have a couple start to our annual meeting. And so we have 2 openings. First of all, Neil will be stepping down because of the term limits. I just want to go on a record thanking you for the input and your number of years of, focus on this organization to get us to the point we are today. And it's very much appreciated. And maybe after our June meeting, we could go to lunch or something, or have a little toast.
I'll be around, I'm going to disappear.
So I'm going to open up, and Lori was filling a term, so she's only been here 2 years, so she has actually 2 more terms I keep reminding her that she's eligible for. And
Don't increase
but
it.
so and Nancy is our alternate. So I'm opening up nominations for appointments to fill those 2 slots.
Well, I will make a nomination to have Nancy join us as a permanent board member.
Okay, do I have a second to that? Do you have anything you'd like to add for discussion?
No, I'm very happy to.
Oh, good.
I love alternates. Alternates are terrific people.
Now we need some more. Yes.
In the wing, yeah, we need
And
Do we have to vote first?
all in favor of?
Aye.
Okay, because we should do one. Anyone opposed to Nancy? You can slip me a note under the table. Okay.
And then I would
So
like to
approved then.
nominate Lori.
Do we have a second? Does anybody dare second that?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion
What are we nominating her?
for the opening, for the board opening?
Because
Oh,
It's a
a new term.
Yes,
Yeah.
oh,
okay.
okay, term, yeah. So
Renomination.
any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Would you like to say anything?
No.
More than you
Thank
should
you.
say?
Thank you, people.
Thanks a bunch. So, this is only appointment, and it goes to the select board. So fortunately, you get to fill out one of these forms again.
Okay.
And submit it. You can get it back to me, and I'll give it to Ed, or you can give it to Ed, and then, this doesn't take effect until July 1st, its terms start July 1st, so we have time to get it on the select board, but we should get it on there together and not have them split it up or anything, so when you get a chance.
So maybe for next meeting, we could give it to you.
Yeah, we could do it in June, that's fine. I think they'll meet after that, so,
Right.
all right.
I'll go back to see what I said the first time.
Okay, and now we need to do, now that we have the board appointed, we have to do elections. So, let me see, we have a chair. I told Liz we were going to nominate her for chair since she wasn't here.
Oh, it must have been perfect.
I'd like to nominate Janet for chair.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Any discussion? Do you accept the nomination? I'm not supposed to talk, but.
I will accept the nomination, thank you. Vice chair, aye. Go ahead, Susie. Nominations are open, please.
Liz. If she's,
Liz Pluff.
yeah.
Do we have a second for Liz Pluff?
Second.
Oh, I must ask her, when my grandson graduated from the fire academy, There was a Fluff that graduated with
Oh, yeah.
him. I wondered if it was a
They're
related.
related.
Not Southampton, though.
All in favor of Liz as vice chair?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Nominations are open for secretary.
Yeah, I would very much appreciate if somebody else would step up. Medically, this is getting tougher for me to do. In a pinch, I won't let the board down. But if somebody else would volunteer to be secretary, I'd be more than glad to nominate.
Don't everybody jump in at once.
Yeah. And I will say, if you're not going to take the secretarial position, you are definitely going to serve on the capital board or the master plan, because I'm not going to do it all.
Is there anybody that would, I mean, Nancy, she's just starting, so I would
No,
prefer
I
not to
wouldn't.
have a first-year person who's not even yet
I would
officially
do
on.
it.
You would do it? Because we did it our first year, we know that it was.
We did
was
it
a
our
challenge.
first day. We walked in and we were not nominated, we were told.
Would you help, Nancy?
Oh, absolutely.
Do we have a nomination then, and I'll break my rule?
So now, are we saying that we would like to nominate Nancy?
I'm asking for
Unless
nominations.
somebody else
Are
wants
open.
it.
All right, I'll nominate Nancy.
Oh.
That's
Way to
easy.
go, Ivana. Is there a second?
On that
Do we have a second?
one. I'll second that.
Any comments, other than you'd be willing to do it? I heard that earlier.
It's a busy morning.
Yes. You don't have to start till July, so that's right, a couple more months. All in
And
favor?
we don't meet in July, so that's even better.
It's the 4th of July, that's
Yeah.
right.
All in favor?
Just for discussion purposes. Now, Lori has used a, one of those things. Recorder. And we had talked about getting a recorder for the group.
We
Will
have a
get-
recorder, we have a recorder for the group.
Oh,
Joan
You know what,
found
we
one.
should use it next month to make sure it works, though.
Okay.
Okay, so.
And we also, when we're here and it's working, we also have the video, so that's also very helpful, which
Yeah,
was
but
down
that
for...
would be tough.
Yeah.
It's hard
I
to do the
wouldn't
minutes
recommend
by
that.
that, right? So I'll bring ours the next time, I'll see, figure out how to charge it
Okay.
or whatever, and then you can use that one if you want.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Nancy.
Nominations open for treasurer?
Oh, well, I nominate Josie.
I'll second that
She's done an incredible job.
Yes, absolutely.
And has certainly made it easy for, at the point in time in the future when you no longer do this, that you have the
Right,
format
so
nicely
somebody
worked
think
out.
about wanting to get into this.
Any other discussion other than,
So you do it for a year, huh?
Huh?
You do it for another year?
No.
There you go.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Frankly, if we can get it down to, I mean, once getting these,
Reports.
the accounts down and figuring out, because there's been so many weird things this year. But I think, I think Joan and I have worked well together, and I appreciate all you do. So, sure.
It's definitely a team effort.
Yeah,
Thank
right.
you. All right, great. Thank you. Nominations are closed and we have Janet, Lori, Nancy, and Josie.
No.
Liz.
Oh, I'm sorry, Liz. Oh, yeah,
Nancy,
yeah,
you got
Lori.
the L.
Sorry.
And Lori's going, she was like, no, no, 2 more months, today and next month.
Okay. All right, so
No,
old
I mean,
business, I think
I
we got our
only
pickleball
took 2
update.
fingers.
I'd like to turn this over to Nancy to talk about your dementia training forum and kind of
Yeah,
brainstorm, and I think working with Joan more closely to see when
yeah, I think that's a
a
great
target
idea.
audience. And
So I made some copies of just some ideas that came up with. I don't know if I made enough, but let's send them out. Because it's a huge topic, so I don't know if this is the place to talk about how to,
I think there's a tremendous need for it, because we have people that can't come to the center because they're caregivers, and they have to take care of their folks. Or whether we do a memory cafe or some kind of I think having the training is first step in figuring out what a good time to do the training, and I don't know, is it
And
3
what would
weeks
the
or
training,
6 weeks?
what would the training
I don't have any idea.
Okay.
You know, it could be so many things.
We can design it.
You know, Dementia 101 is caregiver training, and there's so many ways to do it. I just listed some of the ways there. We do habilitation training where I work. I have a professional that does that could be available as well, other than the OT I was talking about, Carolyn Ford, who has done dementia training in different workplaces and communities, so she's going to be a great resource for us, and she's open to doing whatever we need.
Where is she from? I know she works in Holyoke with you, right?
Yep.
Is she from this area? Is she?
She lives in Ashland.
Yeah, Ashland, and you're Framingham, right?
Pardon me?
Oh, no, Ashland.
No, Ashfield.
Ashfield.
Ashfield, okay,
It's a little
Ashfield.
She's originally from New Mexico. So, but she's a great resource. I know the habilitation trainer that I also work with is a wonderful resource if we want to go in that direction, which is training for caregivers or folks with dementia.
And is there a charge for their instruction?
Not Carolyn's, no.
But just to keep that in mind, so we can work it into the grant.
Yeah, and you know, any of this training, you know, I heard 6 weeks is really reasonable because there's so much that you can go into, but it's really what is the need of the community. Is it for the caregivers? Do they need training? And maybe just an evening, you know.
A support, really. Yeah. There's, caregiver support. But the training, I think, is a good way to start it. It's a little less scary, when you're saying, well, we're just going to talk about it, and then a lot of other things come out because, yeah, they're hurting. They're by themselves out there or with minimal assistance, and they need to have, people care that, here I am trying to take care of this person that I, married, and I don't have the tools I need. So I think it's really important. I don't know when to start it, that's the thing, because then you've got the summer, do we start it in the fall?
So I have a very good friend that actually wrote a book on her experience with her mother and the dementia and her father. And I mean, if that at some point would be interesting to have her come in and address a group of caregivers because she lived that experience. And I'm sure she would be. She lives in central New York. We went to high school together, but I mean also from a different perspective, a caregiver to caregiver. It was really her dad that was the caregiver until it cost him his life as a caregiver.
And that's very common.
And that's very
It's usually the caregiver's the one that suffer because they don't take care of themselves.
Do we know what that yet looks like in this community? What dementia looks like in this community? Is it
Numbers of people?
Is it 20% of the elderly population? Do we know anything about it?
I think it's very hard to measure.
I wonder if we should put that in our survey. Do you have an individual in your...
Are you a caregiver?
Are you a caregiver?
Yeah, versus, yeah.
Yeah,
Or,
and don't specify for what, are you a caregiver, period.
yes.
And then
Would training and
If you don't
support be...
specify what you're
Yeah, you need to
caregiving
specify,
for,
and maybe you
it's
check
your
off,
niche is
But
very
you
different.
need to let them give that information. You need to be careful you're not crossing that privacy.
yeah.
So then you might want to ask a question as a caregiver. Are you a caregiver? And how do you want to word that question?
Well, you could ask
What are your needs?
Yeah.
What could we do to support you?
Or you could put an optional down,
Yeah, with dementia
yeah,
training.
optional, what are you
That's
caring for, too?
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
can, if they
yeah.
feel like crossing
What's
the
the
line.
disability or whatever?
Yeah, what's the medical issue or,
Yeah, I'd say what's the issue? I don't know, you want to call it a disability?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what
Medical
Nancy
issue.
said about saying optional,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
keep,
So they fill in a
protects-
blank, we
Right.
don't
Right.
list them, but
Right,
they make it
right.
an optional.
Right.
And I wouldn't use the word medical because then you might you can say in what area.
Okay.
And they can expand. They could be taking care of grandkids.
Yes,
I mean, there's
that's
a whole
true.
bunch of stuff
Yeah.
that can, and you get a broader.
It's a different population.
Exactly, so,
We're going to address that at the luncheon.
well,
Grandparents taking
Yeah.
care of grandkids.
Well, this could be just like the MOLST seminar that you just had.
Yeah.
The same kind of thing, and just get a sense of the community.
And maybe in the evening, it sounds like a noon training wouldn't be the most effective time, right? So,
And I
Or
think
a
it's,
weekend.
or a weekend, yeah.
I think it's important for us in general to know how to work with somebody who's maybe in the early stages of dementia. We had an incident with bingo where somebody was going down that road. So
Now, I'm curious how you had an incident at bingo. And I'm curious for a good reason, because I ran across something I never expected to run across just today, which was basically hidden type 1 diabetes. And the lady's almost blind. And it's hidden, and she doesn't want anyone to know. She doesn't want to know. Her mother was secretive about it. So when you say, we ran across it in bingo, what happened?
the behavior. The behavior was the clue. I don't want to put the, I'll
We
talk to
record
her.
it, so yeah, maybe.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm not asking for a name or anything.
No, I know.
No, but we'll talk about it after.
Okay.
We even, I think having gone through this with in Highland Valley being involved in, there are a lot of communities that are doing some kind of informational, they're approaching it very gently because, like Nancy said, there's a lot of layers to this. And, you have to determine what level of information is going to be digested well so that they can then go to the next tier, because I think this has to be done on multi-level. And how you, because this is a very independent community. People want to keep things private, they have resources, they have families, so with the exception of some situations that have currently occurred with seniors, and also that experience that you're referring to, we haven't had a lot of highlight. I mean, I as a board member for, 8.5 years, it was never reported that we had an incident, that we had to deal with it, where resources, had to be
So some of
obtained
ours
from a-
comes to light because of Flo's service list. So the service list, somebody will call
Right.
and say, this is my situation, and I need, either shopping, or I need transportation, or I need somebody just to come and sit so I can do what I need to do, So some of this has come out because of the service list.
And so that's where the other thing is that we've talked about, an outreach person, not Joan, has to be somebody else that it is. So that's why I'm saying there's sort of, we have to have something in place other than Joan after a workshop, or what's the connection? What's the ongoing? I always say, you're planting the seed, but you have to be at least willing to move it forward so that the resources are just not given and then dropped.
And we're a small community, so we'd have to look to other resources. It could be other council on aging, it could be other regional things, not just, you're right, we're a very small operation. So Highland Valley, they have also...
But the
they have
hospitals too.
Other hospitals are a
The
good
Alzheimer's
suggestion.
Association.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
there are all kinds of resources out there.
So
And Nancy is in that
Yeah, I mean,
particular
that's
career.
right,
Mercy
right.
Life.
She's a perfect person to go to.
So it sounds like an informational kind of basic first time evening thing, and maybe have a little questionnaire there to say what would be helpful. And if people want to take that.
I think informational is really good. I took a workshop, Andrea and I both went to a workshop at Linda Manor, and one of the workshops I attended was the dementia. And I did the dementia workshops that Jen had years ago. But it's amazing, you always pick up new information. And one of the things that struck me was the young woman who gave the talk saying, the people like in the bank need to know how to work with these people. You know, it's something I never thought of. You just assume.
Yeah, I had actually never heard of a dementia-friendly community.
Oh, I'm very
Oh, that's
familiar
very
with
good.
that.
You've
I
done
went
it.
to a workshop on it.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's
Oh,
a,
good.
AARP has age-friendly community, which also works with bankers and business people, but dementia-friendly is even just the next level.
That's all, is that the same as we have seen in Europe? I think Sweden has the dementia-friendly communities.
Well, that's even more, that's even
more.
that.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
You know, it might be helpful, I don't know how we do this, but if you have, start off with the informational meeting, and even if you have a survey, if there was somebody who could follow up with the people who came and just said, are there other things that information we could provide, in a...
I mean, would that be something someone from Mercy Life would do when she did deliver the program, or is that be outside of that
It
scope?
would be out
or-
of that
Yeah.
scope, I would think, yeah. because-
Not outside of it, within it?
Yeah.
So we'll work with you
But
and
it's-
Carolyn finding a date to have just an introduction and
Should we invite her to our next board meeting, just to also
Sure.
get a sense?
Oh, that'd be good.
What do you think?
Yeah,
Would there be value to that? I mean,
yeah, she's happy to do whatever
And
works,
Nancy, would it
so-
be better to have this done before noontime? And the only reason I'm saying that is my experience with dementia is that it gets much worse in the evening and,
It can,
yeah,
but
Yeah.
everybody's different.
everybody is different, yeah.
But
Yeah.
You
I
might
think
have-
we were thinking of the caregivers, so.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's what I'm
we're
saying.
not talking about the patient.
No, you're not talking about the patient, but who's going to take care
Right,
of the
right.
when
patient?
they come here for
But they
a
may be
training.
working, and that's the other thing.
Well, the daytime person who's there during the day would be perhaps more available in the evening to come, and maybe somebody else covers.
family
like
We could
cover
put it in the
family.
survey. Would you be open
Yeah.
to a morning program, an evening program, a time frame?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Joseph brings up a good point. If you're taking care of them during the day, waiting for someone to come home from work, then you're not going to be able to get out unless you make arrangements that they can bring the person with them.
And that's why these memory cafes, they bring their person with them, their spouse or their mother or whoever. They come together and then they have some activity for the folks that, that aren't part of it, the caregivers. I don't know. There's many ways to do it. There's many ways.
Good, so working together, and then maybe if she could come in, we could, I think, learn a little bit more from her at our next meeting. That would be helpful.
Some of the facilities that have like day programs, are those open to anyone, or does it have to be, a doctor that orders that a person would benefit or would give a caregiver a break, like a couple of days going somewhere where, how does that work?
You have to look it up for day centers, yes.
It's a financially
Yeah, yeah.
driven, unfortunately.
You have to have a certain,
Resources.
yeah, or need, and also the level of ADLs or activities of daily living that you need assistance with. So I think you need to have at least two ADL needs, so somebody who needs help bathing or dressing would qualify.
And even if you think of 1,900 seniors 60 and over, what percentage of those people that are kind of unknown that have, their families have this need? So there's got to be a...
It doesn't
A
even
decent
have to be
number.
labeled
Right.
dementia, it just
Right.
could be memory.
Well, even people,
I would join.
My brother-in-law died before Christmas, and he did not have dementia, but there were definitely activities of daily living he could not do on his own. And, my sister had to be constantly there, and I'm sure she would have benefited from something that would just help her cope. but give her some ideas on how to deal with certain things that came up along the way. But anyway.
Great, I think we have some good next steps then.
Okay.
What's Carolyn's
comfortable?
last name?
Board.
Thank you.
So just two quickies. Town meeting is Tuesday.
Go.
There are two articles on it. One is to reduce the senior exemption from 70 to 65, and the other one is to increase the maximum limit of income for singles from 18 to 20, and for a couple from 20 to 25. Okay, just kind
Do
of...
they televise that?
I think they do now. They record it at least if they don't televise it, but they do record it, yes. All right, so our next meeting looks to be June 5th? June 5th. We're good for June 5th, everybody?
Time is not a good word. Oh, wrong with that.
Just before 11.
You're getting up.
At 9:30. 9:30, right.
It's in there.
And then if possible, we'll, maybe we'll see if we can go to lunch and celebrate your time with us.
We want to plan
I'm
that
going
for
to make a
June 5th?
speech, so we'll allow time for my farewell.
Okay, we'll see if we can get the back room.
Nilda would join.
So we'll have to block out 5 hours.
That's right. And always daggers. How long is this gonna go for?
We're taking you to McDonald's.
Just a reminder that the Highland Valley grant should be coming out in the next 60 days.
Oh.
Right, so we gotta, make
Looking
sure
at
we're
that as
checking
well.
on
That's not coming out in the next 60 days. Oh, 60, sorry.
Which, the caregivers group, although she said there wasn't anything associated with that amount, with the speaker, but maybe there'll be other things that might be associated with that, so we'll look at that.
Okay,
Okay. I make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
10:57, all in favor?
Good weekend.
All in favor, yes?
Oh, aye.
Anybody want to extend it? No?
No.
All right, great. Thank you
I
very
just
much.
want to give
Thanks,
you this
everybody.
bit of information now that we're off.
Wait, we're not off yet.
That workshop I